Hi there, welcome to our podcast. The focus today is going to be on long-term memory and its relevance to teaching and learning. External events go into our sensory memory through our senses. They are first encoded into the brain briefly in our short-term memory. This information is held for less than 30 seconds, for example, hearing or seeing a phone number. It is then either forgotten after 30 seconds or it becomes stored in our long-term memory for future use, where it can be retrieved when needed. Now, let's take a look at long-term memory. The amount of information that we can hold in long-term memory is thought to be infinite. This is in contrast to short-term memory, which can only hold between 5 and 9 items for 20 to 30 seconds. Long-term memory is accessed in 3 different ways, through recall, recognition, and relearning. Long-term memory has 2 categories. The first category of long-term memory that we will look at is procedural, which is also known as motor skills. This category is responsible for knowing how to do things, and it stores the information on how to perform tasks, such as walking, talking, and playing an instrument. It has been said that the procedural memory shapes one's character. We perform tasks from this category unconsciously. The second category of long-term memory that we will look at is declarative. Declarative can be further divided into 2 subtypes. The first subtype is episodic memory. Episodic memory is a neurocognitive brain-mind system, uniquely different from other memory systems, that enables us to remember past experiences. Can you recall where you were on the 11th of September 2001? Now can you recall where you were on the 20th of October 2001? I bet you are struggling to remember. Have you ever been in a car crash? Can you remember where it happened, how it happened, who was driving, or where you were going? Now can you recall where you were going every time you got in a car? No? This is because it did not involve a significant event. Episodic memory is a late developing and early deteriorating past-orientated memory system. The essence of episodic memory lies in the conjunction of 3 concepts: self, autonoetic awareness, and subjectively sensed time, meaning it helps us to travel through subjective time from the past to the present, thus enabling us to re-experience through autonoetic awareness one's own previous experiences. Episodic memory is the ability to recall and mentally re-experience specific episodes from one's personal past, such as your birthdays, first day in school, your wedding, significant events such as your county winning the All-Ireland final, or where you were when 9/11 occurred. The second subtype is semantic memory. Semantic memory is the gathering of facts, ideas, and concepts. For example, knowing the grass is green and how to use a scissors. All the information that you learnt in school and college is in your semantic memory. Semantic memory uses repetition and rehearsal to store facts and information that are gathered through the senses and replayed to short-term memory. Each person requires different amounts of repetition and rehearsal for the information to be stored to the semantic memory. There are 3 types of coding. Visual. This includes pictures, reading words, or numbers. Next is acoustic. This involves hearing the information over and over. And finally, meaning. This is relating the information to something else that has meaning in their life. Semantic memory can be improved in different ways, such as chunking. For instance, a phone number, 087 256 6789, can be broken into 3 parts, such as 087 256 6789. Categorizing. We could categorize different breeds of dogs into big dogs, such as a Labrador, St. Bernard, and German Shepherd, and small dogs, such as Jack Russell, Shih Tzu, and a Pug. Mnemonics. For example, the colours of the rainbow can be remembered through rhymes, such as ring out your great bells in victory. Visual and verbal imagery. For example, this podcast. You're watching and listening to it. Finally, linked to prior knowledge. For example, a past experience in your life or information that you already know, and link it to new information that you are trying to learn. Semantic memory is derived from episodic memory. There are many techniques to help improve our long-term memory. The following 2 techniques are the most effective for retaining information. Practice testing. This can be done by working on questions from either a textbook or worksheets, completing class tests, and even attempting past examination papers. Distributed practice. This involves doing small amounts of work over a period of time instead of cramming. Students remember more if the learning is spread out. The next 2 techniques are moderately effective strategies for improving long-term memory. Elaborative interrogation. This is done by asking students higher order questions, such as, why might that be the answer? This helps the students to understand what they are doing, as well as make them think about the content. Interleaved practice. In this technique, students mix up the different topics or subjects that they are studying to improve their time management, as well as keeping the knowledge fresh in their minds. This also helps the students to compare and contrast the various subjects. Lastly, the 2 techniques found to be the least helpful for retaining information are highlighting. Many students over-highlight and actually don't make any connections with any previous learned content. Rereading. Students often resort to skim reading, which results in them missing out on key information, as well as them not critically thinking about the material. So, to conclude, here is a finalised concept map, which we have already seen. As previously mentioned, there are 2 types of memory, short and long-term. In this podcast, we concentrated on long-term memory and its relevance to teaching and learning. We discussed the 2 types of long-term memory, which are procedural and declarative, and found that teachers and students both use declarative and procedural, although students use more declarative than procedural, and teachers use more procedural than declarative. Hope you found this podcast useful.
Thanks for listening.